Is there an artist that stood out to you so far that's given you some advice about your career and what you're doing that you really hold to heart?
We've been really lucky to have a lot of great experiences like that, meeting our heroes, and they're the coolest people and so kind and supportive. One that definitely stands out to me was the Halestorm and Evanescence tour. That was our first big tour. Oh,
so
yeah.
We're talking nearly like 15 years, basically. You know what I mean? Of practice and building your repertoire. So it was not an overnight, like, because from the outside, it looks like, oh, there's this band, up and coming band, and they're killing it, and they're just like success overnight. But it really isn't, right? Can you talk about that a little bit? Like, what's the road like? So, you know, you're going through building your repertoire, practicing. Nothing's really transpiring, right? But you still have the faith to keep moving. And that Jiva that hangs up on the wall is probably the fastest of them all, right? And it's just very comfortable to play. And can you speak a little bit why you like the Ibanez?
I mean, literally for that reason. It's like they're the best built guitars I have ever played, and they're built for that speed and all, you know, the guitar gymnastics. And like some of my heroes for, you know, really getting into playing side of things are Steve I and Joe Satriani. So of course, immediately I look at, you know, Ibanez, and I'm like, okay, that's exactly what I want to play.
And welcome to the Apex Lifestyles Podcast. I'm your host, Bob GDMD, and I'm here as always with my co-host,
Dennis V. What's going on, Bob?
You know, we have an unbelievable guest today.
Doesn't get Bob. It just keeps coming. It doesn't get any better than this. I am so excited for this interview today because you actually showed me the way to this phenomenal artist a few weeks ago at a show, and we're just honored to have her today.
Yeah, you know what? We have an up-and-coming rock and roll band. Say it no less than that. I mean, these guys are unbelievable. They're hot. They're moving up in the charts. Actually, you have a charting single right now. I have Bella Perron from the band Plush. Welcome to the studio.
Welcome, Bella.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm stoked to be here.
Yeah, we're super excited to have you. You know, one of the things that I saw you guys, I don't even know, was that like maybe 2021 when we first opened back up after COVID? You guys were on tour with Slash, yeah?
Yeah, actually, I think it was early 2022, I want to say.
Okay, yeah.
The streak of like, but once things started opening up in like summer of 2021, we were just on the road for almost a year straight after that.
Yeah, well, I can tell you, I was at that show that you guys played in Boston at the House of Blues, and it was shoulder to shoulder. Like, we couldn't even walk in there. And I got to tell you, I was very, very impressed with your abilities on guitar and the way you can, like, I'm a guitar player actually. And you were smoking it up there. It was really pretty amazing. And you know, the whole band just sounded tight. Like, you guys are young, you know, I mean, I'm an old guy, right? But like, you guys are young kids, but you were bringing it like, you know, all-time professionals. It was really, really impressive. So I've been a fan ever since, and that first album was fantastic.
Bob, I want to echo that. Watch it. Them a couple weeks ago, we saw them in New Bedford. I feel the same way. You're beyond your years already, so it's great. You were unbelievable on the guitar.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And thank you so much for calling out to the shows and stuff. It's always, you know, like a blast. Boston's one of my favorite areas to play, or anywhere in New England. I feel like the crowds are always just on a whole different level.
Yeah, I mean, you guys were just playing a bunch of, were you playing, you know, all the festivals? Like, I saw some pictures on social from Rockville, and like, it's just a sea of people everywhere. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, that was crazy. It was our second time at Rockville. We were there in 2022 as well. And every time I'm just blown away, you know, at the amount of people that show up that early in the day when, you know, it's hot out, the sun's beating on you. It's right like 1 p.m. in the middle of a speedway, and the crowds are insane. And then this past weekend we were at Sonic Temple as well, and that was just another wild experience. It's a lot of fun. Yeah,
I saw that actually. On social, you know, I live vicariously through all you guys are still playing. You know, I ended up becoming a dentist of all things, and now I have to live vicariously through you all. I actually went to music school too. I didn't go to Berkeley, but I went to UMass, and the UMass Lowell campus, and they have a music department there, and I actually studied music, believe it or not.
Oh, that's really cool.
And Scott, one of the friends of the podcast, he's been on. He's a good friend of mine, and he was one of your professors, if I understand. Is that right?
Yeah, he was my guitar PI for the year I was at Berkeley. I was just there for 1 year. It was during COVID, so I was online. Honestly, I learned so much within that year, and the lessons with Scott were incredible. And actually, even once we started touring and stuff, I would still be scheduling stuff with him, whenever I was home, just to, keep learning for sure.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Like, when did you start playing guitar?
So I started when I was 5. My dad plays and owns a music.
5?
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I started young, and it's just kind of been a constant since. I just took lessons all the time in my dad's music shop, and then that was literally up until I went to Berkeley.
Your dad had a music shop, like a music store, like you would sell instruments. So he would have like lessons in the back, right, and then would sell the instruments. Yeah. So I grew up in that kind of a world too. Not my parents didn't own it, but there was a store like that in my town. So that's how I got introduced to music in that, and I would hang out at that store like all the time.
That's so at 5 years old, you're playing the guitar. Did you put a lot of time in at 5, or did you just gravitate to the guitar at that time and it just took off?
I just gravitated towards it because I thought it was cool. Like, my favorite band, still is one of my favorites is Kiss. I just thought Ace Frehley looked the coolest, and I wanted to be like that.
You picked a great band.
look up on the wall. You see up on the wall?
Really? That's awesome.
Yeah, that's a Kiss clock up there. Like, that's my favorite band too, so we share that.
Sure. I love the Jiva too. That's awesome.
Yeah, you know where I got that Jiva from? You see who it's signed by?
Is it signed by Nita?
It is.
That's awesome. No way.
She actually gave me that guitar.
Oh my gosh, that's really cool.
Yeah, that's a story in and of itself. I'm trying to get her on the show at some point. Maybe she'll come on. She just, has been very busy and just got married, as you know, and she's just like, got to time it right. So I'm hoping maybe the fall, we'll see. But maybe now that you've been on, she's going to be a little bit of pressure. You both are Ibanez artists, right?
Yeah, it's definitely a dream to be endorsed by Ibanez, and Nita's one of, my guitar heroes and someone I've looked up to. I feel like it's so rare to see, a woman shredding, not just playing guitar, but doing all the crazy, playing that she's doing in her stage presence. And I've been a huge fan of her since I was probably around 12 or so. I think that was the first time I saw her live, and definitely a huge inspiration.
Yeah, she's a super nice person too. Very, very sweet. And her husband, Josh, a cool dude. And I've had the opportunity to spend some time with them, which is really cool. So I've gotten to know both of them pretty well. So that's pretty cool. So, yeah, I think Dennis has a question. He's just looking at me.
Yeah, Bella, first of all, before my question, your stage presence is unbelievable.
Oh, thank you.
How did you build that stage presence, and what, because, you really... I get the attention of the crowd and everything. How important is it to have that stage presence in your role as a guitarist?
Oh man, I think it's super important because for me, I think of being on the other end of it, being in the crowd and watching bands and always being blown away by, how they move and how they work the stage. It's all about the music first for me, but also there's such a visual component to it as well. As far as my stage presence, I try not to think too much about it. Honestly, it's just kind of whatever happens. But at the same time, I'll just it's really all growing, all through my childhood and growing up, it's always watching guitar players and trying to mimic every one of their mannerisms and how they move and how they play. And so definitely looking up to guys Ace Frehley, Slash, Eddie Van Halen, all of their stage presences are just incredible. And it's something, that definitely has had a huge impact on me.
Yeah, you're going after some of the greats. Now, I'm thinking about the festivals as Plush is kind of, you guys are really taking off. The festivals, I know they're long days, and is a festival a great way for artists and groups to expand their fan base? Because sometimes groups show up and they go to see fans come to see somebody else, and all of a sudden they hear you guys shredding it, and all of a sudden they're a Plush fan. How's that work for you?
Oh my gosh, it's an incredible experience. You really just summed it up of a lineup that's so, so big, and so many different styles and subgenres and different types of artists that, it draws such a vast crowd and such a diverse crowd. So for us, it's all these pairings that we typically wouldn't be put out maybe on a tour with per se, but it creates this really cool crossover of, you know, people that are going for the festival for one artist, you know, somehow catch our set, and it's, you know, creates this really cool dynamic for sure. Like this past Sonic Temple, we were put on the headliners for the day were Slipknot and Limp Bizkit, and as far as like their crowd, I don't know if they would typically gravitate towards Plush, but it was really, really cool to see, you know, being on a lineup like that and having a great response. We're definitely super grateful for the experience.
You just mentioned Slipknot. My son Matt is a huge Slipknot fan, and this summer he's like, Dad, August 10th, we're going down to Jersey to see Slipknot. I mean, they're phenomenal.
Awesome. That's crazy. It was my first time seeing them live at Sonic Temple, and I was just blown away. It's such a good show, and like just the musicianship too is unreal.
What's your favorite festival you've done so far?
My favorite, I would say Rockville. This past time was incredible, and then also our first time was definitely, you know, just a great memory of like the first time we were there. We were opening up main stage, and that was just totally surreal of like that many people showing up and playing the biggest stage, you know, as a small band. Definitely was and just an incredible experience. Just felt surreal. And this past time we were there too was just amazing as well too. Like, you know, still all of the stages are huge, and playing inside of the raceway. It's just, you know, a crazy place to have a show, and I love it.
That's crazy. I saw those pictures. Massive crowd. And I don't think you guys are a small band anymore. I hate to break it to you. So I was with my friend Dave on Friday. We went to Foxwoods and we saw Berlin. They're much older than you. They came out in the early 80s, you know, and there was at least 3 Plush shirts in the audience as I was walking out.
What? No way.
So you got, for sure.
So, Bella, I don't even need to ask the question of how does it feel to know or see somebody with a Plush shirt on? I mean, that must be pretty cool.
Wow, it is really, really cool. It's kind of, you know, another one of the things that doesn't feel real. I feel like, you know, when you're in it and you're always focused on the next step and the practicing and rehearsals and kind of all this planning phase, you kind of I feel like we might kind of lose touch of like what the actual impact is, and or still like, you know, see it as a baby band and one of those, you know, just kind of fresh out of the gate getting started, and then to start to see, you know, like these headline shows selling out and Plush shirts in the crowd. It's just really surreal, and it's crazy, you know, just feeling that growth that we've made. I feel like especially this year it's been, you know, a lot of growth.
Yeah, let's talk about Run.
Yeah, Run has been just, another incredible experience for sure. Like we had, you know, we put out an EP at the beginning of the year, and Run was kind of one of those ones that stood out to us, a more up-tempo song, very much still our sound and our vibe, but a little bit of a different feel to it. And when we started playing it live and just seeing the response on the Disturbed tour to it, we ended up, you know, became our single, and it's been crazy starting to see it chart and really growing as a song for sure.
Yeah, you broke the top 40 on iHeartRadio.
Yeah, we're so thankful too for, you know, this is like the 3rd single, I think, that's, you know, started to break some charts, and it's just one of those things that, like, you know, doesn't really, almost is like, is this really happening? Like a pinch me moment when you see the other bands you're on the chart.
It's happening.
It's like wild.
Yeah, it's happening. It's wild. It's a great song, man. And that first album was great, full-length album. And then you guys put out an EP. You know, I'm thinking the thirsty Plush fans want a little bit more than an EP. You know, I'm hoping that you guys come in with a full-length album. That'd be amazing.
Oh, thank you. Yes, that's definitely, I feel like, on the horizon. We're just excited to put out an EP right before the tour too. And
that makes sense, right?
Live. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You just dropped it. You said you guys were just playing with Disturbed. I mean, that's a big deal. And you know what I did notice is some of the pictures on social arenas that you guys would take. You know how you turn around, you take a picture of the band with the crowd behind. The arena was full.
It's insane.
You know that doesn't happen with openers usually. So pretty soon, I think there's going to be a switch. That I'm calling it out on the Apex Lifestyles podcast right now. I think you guys are going to be headlining some arenas pretty soon.
There's no doubt. There's absolutely no doubt. When I think about Plush, I see the 4 of you. It's like the perfect storm of musicians that have pulled together. And first of all, the stage presence of all of you is amazing. What's that vibe like?
It's honestly, it's just a lot of fun. You know, always having the best time on stage, and, you know, I feel like I could never ask you to do it with a better group of people for sure. It's just, like a family, and but the best feeling in the world would be going out on stage with them. The Disturbed tour was another just kind of mind-blowing experience of like, not only were they an amazing band to watch live every night, but the sweetest, like kindest people, and like really made us feel so welcome every single day of the tour and so supported. Another just, crazy part of it was seeing the arenas filling up early. Like their fan base is so diehard that as soon as the doors open, people would be in that arena. As an opening band, it's like we've, had so many incredible opportunities opening for amazing artists. But a lot of those times, those venues are like maybe 50% full, if that. And so it was one of those insane experiences, going on stage and the arena's like pushing like maybe 80% or higher, and it's just packed and people are into our set. And it was, just an amazing feeling, I know none of us will ever forget.
I think that's like a match made in heaven. Like the two bands, you guys and Disturbed, I think they, it's the genre is like they're almost a perfect match to go on tour together, which is really cool. I think you guys, I can't say enough about how good you guys play. And I think that it says a lot that you have the arenas are packed before the, before the headliner's on. I think that says a lot. I've been to a lot of shows in my years, and that's not the norm.
Bella, it's not an accident, first of all, that you're playing with these top, you're opening up for these groups. But I go to a lot of shows as well. And openers don't have the crowds you have. And it's the hard work. It's people are buying into Plush.
Why don't we move into, one of the things I want to talk about that I saw you have, you play Ibanez guitars, and we'll talk about why you do that, why you chose that. I tend to think of Ibanez as like the Ferrari of guitars.
Me too.
Like right. So they're like, because you could have like a Rolls Royce, which, is this big, beautiful thing. Right. And I kind of look at those as like the big Les Paul Customs, something like that. Right.
Right.
But, if you want a sports car, you're going to play an Ibanez. Right. And
exactly.
I have a bunch of guitars. I think I have probably about 15 or 20 different guitars hanging around my house. And that Jiva that hangs up on the wall is probably the fastest of them all, right? And it's just very comfortable to play. And can you speak a little bit why you like Ibanez?
I mean, literally for that reason. It's like they're the best built guitars I've ever played, and they're built for that speed and all, the guitar gymnastics. So like some of my heroes for, really getting into playing side of things are Steve Vai and Joe Satriani. So of course, immediately I look at, Ibanez and I'm like, okay, that's exactly what I want to play. And so, yeah, growing up, especially, in the guitar shop, always gravitating towards when new RGs would come in or gems. And just the feel of those really thin necks. I love them, especially, for going into playing anything fast. I had an Epiphone Les Paul as a kid, and I'm like trying to, get into like legato and all this stuff. And I'm like, why does this feel so like icky with like the gloss neck and like the C shape? I'm like, I'm not.
It's because it's a Rolls Royce. You're not going to go fast in a Rolls Royce. Although Slash will tell you different, I'm sure. But
exactly. And I had the Les Paul, but definitely once I started playing Ibanez, it was like no looking back of like, this is what I want to play.
I mean,
period.
Yeah, even the action is just like butter, right?
My gosh, yes. It blows my mind how much you can get away with those guitars, with how low action you can get before it gets fuzzy. Like anytime we, go on a tour, see how will they hold up, with like the bolt-on necks, and my premium I have on the road with me now, that's a neck through it. It blows my mind how stable it is when, on tour you're kind of going to all these different climates and every day's different temperatures and humidities. It's the most reliable guitars I've ever played.
One of the things I saw online, you have this beautiful guitar that has these rose inlays, these flower inlays or something on the body. Like, what is up with that guitar? Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, that was a really, really fun project that my friend and I just finished. And my friend Amanda from LA, she was paints custom guitars, and she's been wanting to get into more commission pieces. So we were talking like, we want to put together some sort of guitar idea. And she was, kind of picking my brain about what I would want in like a custom finish or something. And I was like, I want like Ace Frehley meets Steve Vai. Of like the floral ideas meets a burst. And we were talking, and then it was kind of one of those things of like, all right, now we need to get the guitar. Was our route going to kind of be for that? Because I knew I wanted an RG, but I kind of figuring out the specs as well too. I wasn't quite sure what direction I wanted to go in yet. And it was kind of one of those funny little just fate things of at the store one day, a woman comes in and she's just saying, I just want to donate all these parts guitars. I don't know, I don't want anything to do with them. I just want them gone. And she brings in the most ridiculous, like 90s RGs. And they were just, necks and bodies in pretty rough shape. But I'm like looking up all the serial numbers, and one was from the 90s from the Fuji plant. I was like, this is insane. So we left them in the store for like, a couple weeks just in case, someone came back and wanted, all their guitar parts back. But everybody's kind of funny. Everyone in the shop kind of claimed their guitar that they wanted to, turn into a DIY project. And so immediately I sent it out to Amanda, and initially it had this like mint green finish on it, and she, sanded it all off and then did the hand stain and hand painted all the roses on. And at the same time, I reached out to my Ibanez rep and told him about the project, and it was super amazing to send me hardware, and I got, the edge trim on there.
Cool.
And then at the same time, I started, anytime I super into pickups and swapping them out and getting different sounds. So this is my first guitar that has, a humbucker and 2 singles. So I'm like, scrolling through all the DeMars.
That's kind of cool. So the humbucker is in the mid. You have one at the bridge and one in the middle.
So the bridge is a humbucker, and then and that's a super distortion, and then the middle is the new
a single.
Middle. Yeah, it's a single.
Yeah.
And then the neck is actually the Satriani Satch track.
So, super cool. You must be able to get some really cool tone out of that.
I love it. I love how versatile it is. It was kind of one of those crazy ideas. And then, when the guitar kind of showed up, I was like, all right, this is all coming together. And then I was like, for pickups, I want to go for a really kind of unique pairing, but definitely would work for what I want to do. And it was funny my dad and I wired it all up, all the hardware installed on it literally the week before I left for this tour. It's like we finished it at like the last moment, but I'm blown away by how well it plays and how great it sounds. It's definitely
I saw you pull it out in New Bedford when you played at the Vault, and it sounded great. I mean, it was the coolest looking guitar I've seen in a very long time. I think you should cherish that one for a while. That one came out great.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that one I'm definitely keeping forever. It's super special to me.
Bella, you've already been on the road at festivals opening and for some amazing artists. And has anybody given you any advice? Is there an artist that stood out to you so far that's given you some advice about your career and what you're doing that you really hold to heart?
Oh my gosh, we've been really lucky to have a lot of great experiences like that, meeting our heroes, and they're the coolest people and so kind and supportive. One that definitely stands out to me was the Halestorm and Evanescence tour. That was our first big tour, and to go out with, 2 of our female heroes and, get advice from Lzzy Hale and Amy Lee, was just incredible. I feel like the biggest thing that I kind of learned, whether from talking to them or just observing their shows and how they carry themselves, is like, just keep on going, even if it feels tedious or the road's tiring, or, you face those obstacles being an all-female band. It's just, blinders on, you have your goals and your visions, and just don't stop.
Yeah. So, and, I'll geek out just one more time. We're going to talk about Laney amplification, right? Because that's what I used to play back when I would play. I had a Laney linebacker as my head. It was all transistor, right? It's kind of older. But I see you're using a whole tube setup, right?
Yes. I'm using the Laney Iron Hearts, and I love them. Of course, like another, one of my influences, Tony Iommi. So, of course, when I was able to get in touch with Laney, like, this is a no-brainer. I love with the Iron Hearts too, of like, if you want the heavy tones and that natural distortion, you can really push the tubes. And it has a really cool like wattage feature where it's almost kind of like a built-in variac, like you can turn the wattage down on it instead of just picking what your setting is. So for me, I always turn my watts down, but turn my volume and my gain up so I can get that natural distortion, but still have some control over it in the smaller rooms. It kind of blows my mind.
Very warm sounding amp though,
It is, yeah. Actually, I just got the new model. That's their updated Ironheart. It's the Black Country Customs model. That's new, and it's hand built in UK. And it has this new pre-boost feature on it I really love. Actually, I got it right after the New Bedford show. I started using it at the Nashville show. But it's very warm, but it also really tightens up that low end that I've been loving lately. And it helps the cleans cut through a little bit better too. But yeah, it's
nice.
an incredible amp, and that's what I've used for literally every single Plush show has been a Laney head.
Yeah, nice. And what kind of outboard are you running? Like
Right.
outboard effects, anything like?
Yeah, right now, I mean, I really tend to nerd out about it and start going down a rabbit hole of throwing myself into different projects, typically before each tour. But so right now, I mean, for the longest time, I was using the Boss GT1000, and I loved it. And then I was like, you know what? If there's a time for me to go crazy with all analog, I feel like now is the time to, get all this analog gear have a reason for it. So I switched to like a much bigger setup of right now. It's I have some pedals from All Pedal, their Galactivized compressor and their overdrive. I have the Vox Satriani saturator that I use for all my leads. Typical like Crybaby Wah. I'm trying to think what else. MXR analog chorus, Boss DD8 delay, and then the Laney Secret Path reverb. I love that. It has all these different reverbs built in. It's a really cool sounding pedal. And then I have that all patched into my electro-harmonic super switcher, just to cut back on all the tap dancing, makes it a little bit easier. And then from there, it goes to my wah. And then I go to my Digitech drop pedal. That's a godsend for, all the different tunings we're doing, where most of my guitars are locking trems, not having to bring, 4 or 5
Yeah, so
guitars.
you can just change the tuning on the fly, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I'll have one guitar set up in drop D and another set up in standard, so that way I can kind of get to any tuning I need to with that pedal.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm done geeking out now, Dennis. So
Bob, I just sit back, strap in, and get ready. So as we mentioned earlier, we had Daryl McDaniel from Run DMC in here this week, and they have one of the biggest collabs ever. They immerse Walk This Way, Aerosmith. From Boston, you're from New England. That song, do you ever... I'm all about setting up collabs. Is there a collab where you would ever cross genres and have a desire to do a song with someone, dead or alive, that dream scenario of a song?
Oh my gosh, that's a great question. I feel like as far as specifics, I don't know. I mean, for me, I feel like any chance to work with any guitar players, like something instrumental with like Nita Strauss or Joe Satriani or Steve Vai would be a dream. But for the band, I feel like you really never know, where everyone is such drastically different, like music tastes. Like we have, the bands we all collectively love, but everyone has their own genres they're really, really into. So, who knows what the future might hold for different collabs or branching out with different crossovers. I feel like we're all very open-minded to, doing something like that. Sounds like a really, really fun way to do something different and push yourself as well as an artist.
What are some genres you listen to outside of rock?
Outside of rock?
Like what's your go-to? And you put your playlist on, what's your go-tos?
Honestly, my go-tos is still rock. Lately, it's like a lot of like Wings and Beatles. A lot of Jeff Beck lately, especially like Blow by Blow and Wired or go-tos. But then a lot of like grunge too. I mean, definitely Stone Temple Pilots all the time, Alice in Chains, Soundgarden. But I feel like it changes all the time. That's just what I've been listening to lately, like during the long drives on tour. But every few weeks it'll be a totally different group of artists that I'm listening to all the time.
Yeah, and you keep opening up other questions. Tour. That's a lot of time on the road. What do you do to pass your time?
I mean, a lot of just hanging out with everyone, fitting in the sightseeing whenever you can. For me, I love checking out, any guitar shops or record shops. But then definitely on the long drives, I'm reading a lot. That's kind of it, honestly. Just really trying to find ways to stay busy and stay entertained. And definitely on days off, either in the hotel or show days in the green room, I'm practicing a lot. It's just, spending a lot of time just playing, really.
Well, Bella, it's not by accident that you're the artist that you are. How much practice time do you put into it? It's not like you're just showing up and shredding on stage. How much do you practice?
Gosh, as much as I can, all the time. It's definitely when I'm home too. That's pretty much it. It's like, going out with friends once in a while, but 99% of the time it's, working, teaching, practicing, recording, and repeat, And definitely that was something, I mean, I was like that pretty much all growing up, just always playing guitar, probably at least, 4 hours a day, I'd say at least. And then definitely going through Berkeley, that was like boot camp almost of like playing all day, every day. And the only time you take a break is if you're practicing, ear training or studying for your harmony test or things like that. And definitely it was inspiring, like how much growth I saw in myself within just that 1 year of school. And that's definitely something I try to always keep in mind, always, finding different, focusing on different techniques I really want to practice and really putting that time in, because you do see that return. And that's one of the things I love about guitar, definitely.
Can you talk about, so you grew up in Maine, right? And you ended up doing some time at Berkeley. And then can you talk about how you ended up building the gig with Plush? Like, how did you end up in the band Plush? Like, can you talk about the how that all went down?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy timing. So I graduated high school in 2020, like peak pandemic. And then I was going to college, but literally I think it was like just a couple weeks before, like I put down the deposit and everything, was all ready to move to Boston, and then found out campus was closed, remote classes for, the year. But it ended up working out, really great. Of like the same week as orientation was when I came across an ad that Mariah put out looking for a female guitar player. So I emailed her right away, just introducing myself. I sent, some songs that I put out while I was in high school, and really just, I figured, they're probably getting so many, people reaching out, inquiring about the gig, that I kind of just thought they wouldn't even see it. But it was one of those things that I figured I would regret not doing it. And I would always have that what if, and it was crazy. I think literally the next day we were talking and in touch, and then I sent in an audition tape, and a few weeks later I was driving down to New York and jamming with everyone. So it all happened really, really fast. And it was, definitely one of like the positives of the pandemic for us was, we had this period of, we couldn't just go out and play shows. So it was just, I would go to New York and I'd be down there for like a week or so, and it would just be practicing all day, every day. And we would do that all the time. So that way, as soon as venues started opening up, we just hit the ground running.
Wow. One of the things, that's striking to me, we have a lot of artists in here, and we've had some legends in here, spoke to them, and they're all talking about, it was not an overnight thing, right? So you've been playing since you were 5,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it took until you were 19, basically, to get the call.
Oh,
so
yeah.
We're talking nearly like 15 years, basically, you know what I mean, of practice and building your repertoire, right?
Exactly.
In order to get the call and say, hey, let's go do this thing. So it was not an overnight, like, because from the outside, it looks like, oh, there's this band, up and coming band, and they're killing it, and they're just like success overnight, but it really isn't, right? Can you talk about that a little bit? Like, what's the road like? So, you're going through building your repertoire, practicing. Nothing's really transpiring, right? But you still have the faith to keep moving. Can you, like, I guess the thing is, like, let's help inspire people.
Oh, thank you so much. It's funny phrasing it that way, of like, that many years of work before a gig comes up. But honestly, I think the whole time I just kind of had that faith that, yeah, it's funny, like on the outside, it might seem like that overnight success. But at the same time too, things felt so fast that for me, playing guitar was just always who I am, what I do. I didn't really think anything of like, when am I going to get the call? When am I going to get the break? It's, I'm just happy with a guitar in my hands, and this is what it's all about. And if I can make a career out of it, that's the dream. But at the same time, I'm just going to enjoy every time, I pick up and play. So definitely it was a lot of years put in and a lot of practice. And that's definitely, I see it as, we're still just getting started, and I'm just getting started too in my playing, and always wanting to strive to be better and grow. And so it's definitely, if you're just doing what you love to do, I really do firmly believe that all the other pieces of the puzzle will fall into place if you just keep, doing what you believe in and doing what makes you happy.
What advice would you give to your younger self?
Probably don't be so hard on yourself. you're not going to be playing like your guitar gods overnight, and learn to enjoy the process. It's funny something, all throughout studying with Scott, and he will still text me if I'm beating myself up about something. He's like, at the end of the day, this is about having fun. Always remember that, the practicing, the playing, the shows, the traveling. If you're not having fun while doing it, then something's not right, that's something I always remind myself. And if I could go back and tell my younger self, when I get so stressed about, college auditions and trying to get gigs and, before Plush, I wasn't really playing in any bands full time. I was just kind of sitting in here and there, and I'd be, nervous about that. And it's like, looking back, it's like, just enjoy the process and embrace that you're still in the process, and it's all going to work out and be okay.
That's phenomenal, by the way. Absolutely phenomenal advice to anybody just about whatever you do in life. I'm an educator, been a professor for almost 30 years, and a special ed teacher as well. And I give the same advice to students. And Bob, I loved your question about 14 years it took to get there. And in life, it sounds like you set a goal, and if the only goal you set is I want to be in a rock band, that's 14 years before you actually hit that goal. That's a long time of experience, that success. So you have to set up all those little goals along the way and those accomplishments to basically do what you just said, to enjoy the ride.
Exactly.
Along the way, we talk about hitting your apex. Obstacles come along the way. Have you confronted an obstacle along the way, and how did you overcome it?
Oh my gosh, yeah. So many. I feel like even just feeling discouraged, or, you audition for something and you don't get it, or, you really thought some certain gig or a path was going to work out and it falls apart. And, I feel like instead of, it's okay to, let yourself feel what you're feeling, don't hold it in, but I feel like it's the most important part is what you do after that, and how you kind of reevaluate and make a game plan of how to grow from that experience and take it as really just another learning opportunity, even if it wasn't the outcome you wanted, because, maybe something even bigger and better is in store for in the future. And you're really just helping yourself by gaining that knowledge and experience all along the way.
Belly, you're mature beyond your ears. Unbelievable. That is great. As I said, echoing back to what I said, it's great advice to anything you do in life. So thank you. Great answer.
Thank you. How about the future? I can foresee Bella Perron with G3. What do you think of that? How's that ring?
I really want to go to G3 to be in the crowd and watch, honestly.
I want you on the stage. So I'm going to say, Joe and Steve, this is your girl, man. Get her on, right? So
oh my God.
I just called them out. Hopefully they're going to give you a call. You could sit in and do some G3 maybe.
That would be insane. Actually, right before I left for this tour, I saw the Satch and Vi tour in Boston, and it was one of the coolest shows I've been to. Like, the entire time my jaw was just dropped. Like, it just blows my mind.
Yeah. Virtuosos they are, right? For sure. Right?
So it's definitely super inspirational. And now ever since on days off and stuff, it's like finding all these different, things to practice, or, techniques I haven't like focused on in a hot minute and going back into it. So it was a really, really inspiring experience.
Well, it's been, really fun for me to watch from the sidelines and watch you develop as an artist, and seeing your stage presence develop from the first time I saw you guys a few years ago till what I just saw a couple weeks back, and what I continue to see on social. And I think it's been really fun to watch. And I think, you with a great group of gals playing out there, and you guys are killing it, ripping it up. What's the future hold for Bella Perron?
We'll see. I think really, really, seeing where all of like the exciting momentum that Plush has, I'm so excited for what's in store and what we have coming up next. And finishing out this headline tour in the next leg. In the off time too, I'm definitely still pushing myself I've been teaching guitar lessons and really throwing myself into, looking at the guitar in a totally different way of how do I explain it to others and how do I teach others. But between the two, it's definitely keep just staying very busy and trying to just always be playing.
Yeah, I think that's if you find joy in what you're doing, you're not really working, right?
Exactly.
So I think if you keep embracing that, that's a really good thing. Dennis, do you have anything you want to add?
Bella, first of all, Your musicianship speaks for itself. Unbelievable guitarist. As I said, great stage presence. It's been great getting to know the other sides of Bella Perron today. I mean, you were an exceptional young lady. Amazing advice for the viewers, and you just show that you just got to keep going and going and going and reaching your dreams. And it's not an easy road, but if you work towards it, you're going to experience success. And just wish you all the luck along the way as you continue to reach your apex over and over and over again.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
So Bella, how can people out there follow you and watch your path as you go and watch your career, and how can they connect with you?
Yeah, so my Instagram is at bella.perron, and then my Facebook is Bella Perron, and then I also have a website that's bellaperron.net.
Nice. So reach out, guys, and if you're a young, aspiring guitar player, certainly reach out and maybe sign up for some lessons. I mean, you're doing online lessons. Is that what you're doing?
Definitely. Yeah, I'm mostly doing it when I'm home between tours, but I'm always looking for more students, and it's just another job that really, really excites me, and I love doing it.
Awesome. Yep. Yeah, go ahead, Dennis.
Yeah, as an educator, I've been an educator 30 years, and it is great to teach others and watch others reach their goals, and it's great to give back. So you're doing great things.
Oh, thank you so much. It's definitely a lot of fun, and I love that, shift in perspective from touring and performing all the time to, really breaking down concepts and explaining them and seeing students, grow and get better and better every lesson. I really, really enjoy doing it.
Nice. So I'm really looking forward to watching, Plush go and hit it and start charting and moving into arena headlining tours and maybe someday some stadiums. That'd be fantastic. I'd love to see you on the G3. I'm just going to say it one more time. So, if the powers that be could get you on the G3, at least as a sit-in, that'd be amazing. But I got to tell you, Dennis, I mean, this is one of the great ones that we've had so far. I really am really happy that you came on, Bella. And all the best to you and Plush. And, thank you so much for coming.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me. It was so great talking with you both, and definitely a huge fan of the podcast. Thank you so much for having me on.
Awesome. And Dennis.
Bella, it's go time.